It is incredibly common to find these moments in life when you feel stuck. And this might simply be from a plateau, or it might be the fact that you're not making as much progress on a goal or aspiration as you'd like, or maybe it's something stickier. Whatever it is, let's make this short, sweet, and to the point, and let's help you plot your escape from being stuck. Number 1, actions. What actions are you actually taking? The first place to look is to see what actions you are currently completing, or if you are falling into the trap of the illusion of action. What is the illusion of action? Simple. Research. Research? Yes, research. And now you'll be saying, but I want to ensure that I've explored all of my options and that I'm well informed. Yes, that's great. But once you've done the research, stop. Make sure you now are taking the action, because that is where you're going to find your progress beginning to take shape. So why is this important? Well, action is application, and with application comes feedback. Feedback is very important to allow us to see if we understand what we think we know. If we don't, then we can do further research. But until we've taken that action, we don't have the feedback to fully see what we've been able to take on. And that is usually one of the biggest reasons that we don't get started in the first place. So what will you do to overcome this? You are going to use the OAR cycle. Write down all of the options that you can think of that relate to a particular goal or aspiration. Which of these is the most actionable? That is, it allows progress with the least amount of resistance. In fact, if you have time, I'd like you to pause the video right now and go and do it. I don't mind waiting. If you've completed this, reflect on how your list of options has changed. We should now have one foot out of the mud. We may not be moving, but we're starting to head in the right direction. Let's have a look at our next one. Number 2, measurements. How do you know when you are making progress? Comparison is an important tool and one that we use regularly to gain feedback about our progress. For example, a before and after comparison is one of the best ways of being able to see the progress that we've made. Just a word of warning, progress itself is not a metric that we should be using to evaluate how we're doing. For instance, if we're halfway through a book but don't retain anything from it, the progress of that book means very little. However, if you read the whole book and you've taken notes and have things that you can directly apply, then that means a lot. When it comes to selecting the right metrics, consider all of the different ones that are playing. Quite often there are a lot, and when we actually go through them, there are too many things that we're trying to satisfy at once. What you can do now is use a simple tool of comparison. And this is simply to look at your first metric versus your second metric. Which of these is most important? Evaluate the third and the fourth. Go through your list and then prioritize these. Once you have this, you are then able to see which of these matter most to you, and then these will correspond to what actions you will take next. Timeframe. When are you expecting this to happen? Timeframe can be broken down into 3 key parts, and each of these can have a factor in how we feel stuck. The first one is expecting results in an unrealistic timeframe. I personally was involved in a project of tiling a bathroom. I allocated 2 days to complete this. However, it ended up taking 7 days as I had to navigate a series of tricky corners and overlaps. Now this was a case of not being stuck, but moving at a much slower rate than I anticipated. Progress was there, but just not as quickly as I wanted. Number 2, do you have a defined time frame in which you're looking to complete this? Without a defined time frame, it's very easy to reach a point of stagnation. And even more so, artificial deadlines don't seem to provide the motivation or the impetus to be able to make that movement that you need. This is one of probably the biggest factors that leads us feeling stuck, because we don't have that push to get us going, to help draw us out of the mud in the first place. The third one is, are you using your time appropriately to be able to progress this? It's very easy to justify that you need that time to rest, or that this should be a priority even though you know that it isn't. Being realistic about this can make a big difference in terms of how you progress this. And there is a simple tool that is going to allow you to be able to see this and make sure that it is forefront in your mind of something that you can do. So what will you do? You will use the Achievables. The Achievables is a simple framework that allocates actions depending on the amount of time that you have available to you. If you have a shorter amount of time, you choose a shorter action to correspond with this. As those time slots increase, or you find that the duration gets longer, you can then use the corresponding action to progress what it is that matters most to you. What you'll find from this is that by having this in a prominent position, it is going to cause you to make better decisions as to how you use your time, and whether something that seems like a priority is actually in comparison to the list that you have pre-prepared. If you want to take this a step further, then you can also come up with the list of Misachievables, the dreaded little things that you do that you know occupy your time but are not the best use of how you want to see it being used. Time is an important factor. Use it wisely. And now I would love you to do something that is going to be of benefit to both of us. I would like you to go into the comments section and tell me one action that you're going to take, the commitment that you're going to make that is going to help you to plot your escape from being stuck. Now, you may find yourself stumbling from mud pit to quicksand to getting trapped down the side of the bed. Your way out of this is always going to be the tools and tactics that you employ. And number one, action. Taking those steps will always help to make progress. Keep that in mind. All the best, and I look forward to seeing you again in the future.